You've probably done this today, maybe even a few times, without thinking. I used to do it too, until I started forgetting things I never used to. Little things at first. Why I walked into a room where I left my keys. Then it got worse. I thought it was just aging, or stress, or lack of sleep. But then I found a research study that completely flipped the script. What I learned shocked me, because the real issue wasn't my memory. It was something I was doing every single day that was quietly damaging my brain. And here's the scary part. It's something millions of people do without realizing the risk. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 everyday habits that slowly eat away at your brain's performance. One of them? You're probably doing it right now. And the last one? It caught me completely off guard. Stick with me, because what you're about to learn could protect your memory, your focus, and your future. Let me ask you something. What's the very first thing you do in the morning? Before breakfast? Before brushing your teeth? For most people, it's this. You reach for your phone, a quick scroll, just to check the news, the weather, or a few notifications. Seems harmless, right? But here's what studies are starting to show. That tiny habit is training your brain to be distracted. When you flood your mind with fast, shallow information first thing in the morning, you're telling your brain, this is how we live now, jumping from headline to headline, swiping through noise, never focusing. Over time, that changes how your brain processes deeper thoughts. Your short-term memory suffers, your attention span shrinks, and the worst part, you don't even notice it happening until it's already taking a toll. One neuroscientist put it like this: the way you spend the first 10 minutes of your day sets the tone for your brain's chemistry for hours. So if your day begins with rapid-fire updates, endless doom scrolling, and mental clutter, don't be surprised if it's harder to focus, harder to remember, harder to stay mentally sharp. And here's the kicker. The brain doesn't just get distracted. It starts to crave that distraction. Meaning, even when you want to focus on a book, a conversation, a task, your mind keeps wandering back to the noise. If that sounds familiar, it's not your willpower, it's not your age, it's the habit, and it's rewiring your brain. Lies we've been told. Now, here's where things get interesting. There's a habit most people associate with being smart, informed, or disciplined. In fact, you've probably been told it's good for your brain, something you should be proud of doing every single day. I'm talking about multitasking. Answering emails while watching the news, cooking dinner while catching up on a podcast, folding laundry during a Zoom call. It feels efficient, productive, responsible. But neurologists now say it's one of the most damaging things you can do for long-term brain health. Here's why. Your brain isn't wired to split focus between tasks. It can only do one thing at a time. Everything else is just rapid switching. And every time your brain switches, it burns energy. It creates what scientists call attention residue. That foggy, scattered feeling you get after a long day of doing too much at once. That's not normal fatigue. That's cognitive drain. Over time, chronic multitasking leads to poor memory recall, lower problem-solving ability, slower mental processing, and even increased anxiety and sleep issues. One Stanford study found that people who multitask regularly actually perform worse on memory tests than those who don't. Even when they're not multitasking. Let that sink in. The more you train your brain to juggle, the harder it becomes to focus, even when you try. So next time you catch yourself doing just one more thing while listening, reading, or working, stop. You're not saving time. You're training your brain to forget. The second habit, silent stress loops. There's something else we do every day, and we tell ourselves it's just staying informed. But in reality, It's training your brain to stay in a constant state of low-level panic. I'm talking about consuming negative news, especially in the background. TV playing while you cook. Headlines scrolling while you eat. Breaking news alerts lighting up your phone. First thing in the morning, last thing at night. The brain isn't designed to process that much fear, outrage, or tragedy, especially not passively. Every time you hear a crisis, an argument, a disaster, your body reacts. Stress hormones rise. Memory centers get suppressed. Your brain enters threat mode, even if you're just sitting on your couch. And here's what's worse. This constant low-grade stress doesn't go away when the screen turns off. It lingers. You feel distracted, on edge, mentally tired, but wired. This kind of stimulation shrinks your mental recovery window. It leaves your brain no space to rest. No wonder focus is harder. Sleep is shallower. Conversations feel more draining. And we never question it because we've normalized it. That's just the world right now, we say. But what it really is noise. And the longer you let that noise in, the harder it is to hear yourself think. Here's a truth no one talks about. You don't need to cut off the world. You just need to stop letting it hijack your brain's energy. Because if your mental bandwidth is always under siege, your memory, focus, and emotional clarity pay the price. The third habit, the healthy trap. If you've made it this far, you're probably thinking, okay, I don't scroll mindlessly in the morning. I don't multitask much. I'm careful with the news I let in. That's great, but there's one more habit, and this one surprises people the most, because it's something that seems productive, even admirable. But for your brain, it can be quietly destructive. It's this: never letting yourself be bored, always listening to something, always watching, always filling the silence with noise, music, podcasts, TV, even background chatter. Here's the thing: the brain needs mental white space to recover. When you constantly feed it input, even educational input, it doesn't rest, it doesn't integrate, and over time, it loses its ability to reflect, imagine, or reset. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network. It activates when you're not doing anything in particular, just daydreaming, walking, looking out a window. And it's critical for memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and creativity. But if every moment of silence is filled with noise, that network never switches on. Your brain becomes a passive receiver, not an active thinker. That feeling of mental clutter you can't explain, of being tired but restless, this might be why. So the next time you reach for your earbuds, maybe don't. Give your mind 10 minutes of nothing. Let it breathe. You'll be shocked what returns when the noise fades. A few months ago, I was standing in the middle of my kitchen, and I couldn't remember why I walked in. I just froze there, not tired, not stressed, just blank. It scared me because I realized it wasn't the first time. It had been happening for a while. Little gaps, words I couldn't recall, names I knew, that strange fog, like my mind was online, but buffering. I started blaming everything but myself: age, work, bad sleep. But deep down, I knew. I had built a life with no space for thinking. I was always plugged in, always doing, watching, checking, scrolling. My brain never got quiet, and when it finally needed me to pay attention, I didn't know how. That moment changed everything. Not because I found a miracle cure, but because I realized this wasn't decline. It was depletion, and I could change that. So I started making space. I stopped reaching for my phone first thing. I turned off the background noise. I gave myself permission to be still. And slowly, things started coming back. Memory, focus, calm, not perfectly, not instantly, but enough to know my brain didn't need more effort, it needed less clutter. So, what do you do now? You don't need a new routine. You don't need more brain games, apps, or supplements. What you need is less noise in the morning, less pressure to do 5 things at once, less background chaos disguised as being informed. Instead, give your mind what it's truly hungry for. Silence, simplicity, space. Try this tomorrow. Wake up and don't touch your phone for the first 30 minutes. Let your brain arrive before the world does. Later in the day, take 10 minutes. No noise, no screen, just exist. Breathe. Let your thoughts come and go. And in the evening, ask yourself one question. Did I feed my brain clarity today or just more input? That's it. No hacks, no overwhelm, just one shift from consuming to connecting. Because your brain doesn't want to be optimized. It wants to be understood. If you made it this far, that tells me something important. You're not here to give up on your mind. You're here to understand it, and that makes all the difference, because it's not too late. It never is. The brain is always listening, always adapting, even now. If this video helped you see things differently, share it with someone who needs to hear this too. Maybe a friend, a parent, someone who's been feeling the same fog. And if you want more ways to protect your brain, simplify your life, and live with more clarity, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. This channel is built for people like you, people who care, people who think. Your brain is not broken. It's just been overloaded. Let's fix that one clear moment at a time.